Welcome to episode 98 of the Whatnauts review show, where every week we pick a story and we talk about it. This could be a movie, TV series, anime, manga, comic book, audio drama, all kinds of entertainment. We watch it, read it, listen to it, and then we come back here and we talk about it. My name is Melissa Wilkinson, and I am joined as always by Kyle Springer.
Hello, that's me.
Hello, it is you.
Melissa, this is actually episode 97.
97?
Yeah.
But aren't we recording
your name
episode
was-
100 in 2 weeks?
What was episode 97 then? Because Venture Bros was not. Did I skip one down in these numbers?
My calendar might be wrong.
So I have, let's see, from 95, that was your name. 96 was Venture Bros Part 2. Wouldn't this be 97 then?
It is. Oh, my calendar's wrong then, because I was working backwards from when I thought we were going to record episode 100.
Let's see, 98,
Okay.
99, 100.
Episode 97 then.
There we go. Mystery solved.
Ah.
But, Melissa, that is totally okay because I am an idiot. I would like to formally announce that. I am one of these dumb kids that you hear about every now and then. I did something real stupid.
What did you do?
Well, so first of all, I completely forgot that it was daylight savings time. So last night I was playing video games and I looked down at the clock and I was like, 12:30. Okay, that's a good time to stop. Let me get to a stopping point.
Yeah.
And then next time I looked down, it was 4:30. And I was like, oh no. But that is not the end all be all dumb things that Kyle did this week.
Okay.
I finished watching The Tick for Friday right before we recorded the captain's log.
Mm-hmm.
And I happened to fall asleep during the final episode.
Yeah.
And then I woke up and I was like, how long have I been watching? Because the thing said season 2.
Yes.
And then I looked at all the stuff and I apparently watched season 2. And so I had to spend Friday night and then all morning yesterday watching season 1.
You started at season 2?
Yes. And I didn't know it.
How did you not tell something was missing?
I just thought that was the show. It's like, oh, they'll get to it. They'll get,
we're starting in media res here. I'll be filming eventually.
Yeah, that's the thing. We'll get more in depth, but the whole idea of The Tick is that no one knows who he is or where he's from. Right. And so season 2 still has that. It's just no one knows who he is or where he's from. So I was like, all right, that makes sense. Cool. and yeah, I was just, they were referencing a couple things and I was just like, man, they're really trying for this world building and stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm down for it. Let's go. But yeah, it turns out I watched the wrong season. So I have now seen all of The Tick, all 2 seasons. But I watched season 2 first, and then I went back to watch season 1. So it is me, Kyle, your local dumb kid.
It's not as if you are new to the concept of streaming television shows.
Look,
the bulk
this
of what
is my first Amazon Prime show. I don't know how it works.
Prime.
Yeah. So somehow I just went straight to season 2 and started watching that. Oh well. Yeah.
So anyway, we are here to talk about season 1 of the Amazon Prime version of The Tick from 2017. Yeah. I only watched season 1. I enjoyed it and I intend to watch season 2. I just didn't have time to do it in the week before we were recording this.
Yeah. I might mention a couple of my thoughts on season 2 at the end of this. Some spoiler-free stuff at the end.
Cool.
But yeah, season 1 is what we are here to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Synopsis time.
Yeah.
Let's break it down for people who might not know what this is.
So Arthur is a young man whose father was killed in a superhero and supervillain fight when he was like 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he's an adult now, and he's still dealing with a lot of anxiety over that. And he believes that the supervillain that was killed in that battle is still secretly alive somewhere. And he's got this giant conspiracy wall. Yep, the terror is still out there. He's this big conspiracy wall on his apartment wall. And he's doing some like secret clandestine investigations. He's an accountant. He has no real superhero skills, but he wants to see if this is real. So he's sneaking around some science base, and he runs into a guy in a giant blue tick costume, and he's like, "Hello, chum, it's me, the Tick. You're my new buddy. Destiny
Hello,
is calling
it is
us."
I, the Tick.
And Arthur accidentally... The Tick forces him into this like super suit that the villains have been developing, and he's like, "This looks like it was sized just for you. Here, put on this helmet." And he's like,
is
"I don't
destiny.
know what to do in this suit." Right. So he's sort of forced into the world of superheroism, and he and his family have to encounter all of these other like rogue superheroes and supervillains and uncover this big plot and ultimately try and save the city.
He's kind of thrust into the world of superheroes, which has been all around him.
Yes.
Like they live in a world where superheroes
Yes, this is all real.
Heroes exist and stuff. But this show is comedy. It's a bit of a spoof. It's not really a direct spoof off of like, oh, that's supposed to be Batman or that's supposed to be Superman or something.
Yeah.
But it is this kind of just like, hey, let's have this like funny take on superheroes and the tropes that happen in there. So it's kind of satirical, kind of just, let's just make this stupid and fun.
Yeah. Although I'd say this might be the most serious out of the versions of the Tick I'm familiar with, because I believe this was originally a comic book in the 90s. I don't know much about the comic book. And then it was like a Fox Saturday morning kids cartoon. And then in like 2002, they did a TV version starring Patrick Warburton in the titular blue suit. That was a lot more sitcom-y.
Trying to see. Come on, Wikipedia. Give me the one for not the TV show.
Yeah.
Comics. Tick is a monster superhero created by Ben Edlund in a 1986 as a newsletter mascot for New England Comics chain of Boston area comic book stores. The character is a parody of American comic book superheroes. Blah, blah, blah. After its creation, the character spun off into independent comic book series in 1988 and gained a mainstream popularity through an animated TV series on Fox in 1994. And then all the stuff you just mentioned. So, yeah. It's cool. Good stuff.
Yeah. The Tick has always been around. I've always been aware of the Tick. And I was excited to sit down and watch this latest version of it that Ben Edlund also created. And I was talking with my older brother about this, who's more familiar with all of the various Tick mythos. He's like, yeah, I think it's interesting that he sat down and took all of his same ingredients and just revamped it and updated it and told a new version of the story based on what the world in the mid-2010s was like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see a creator like that take on his own creation in multiple forms of media over multiple generations, to just be like, hey, here's this like fun spoof thing that I made, not to downplay it, but just like, hey, like, here's my thing that I made. It's fun. Check it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, as we mentioned, this is on Amazon Prime. I've heard good things about this show prior to watching it.
Good.
And so I've been interested in watching the show. And so when you pitched it, I was like, I think that's the one that I have to go with finally. Just like, this is one that I know I've been kind of wanting to see. It was never really top priority because I did not have Amazon Prime for a long time. But here we are. We have watched it.
This is a show I've been wanting to watch for a while, and I was waiting until you got Prime because I thought it would be a great topic for the show. I'm like, I'll still enjoy it, but it's a little less fun if I'm just watching it in my off time, not for podcast content.
Yeah. So I do want to make note of one quick thing before we do our housekeeping and then dive into spoilers. Something that I thought was interesting that a lot of shows don't normally do is that I feel like the pilot of the show, like the first episode, which I think was 40 minutes long, it was a little bit longer, but that was shot incredibly well. It looked amazing. And then the rest of the show kind of took a dip in quality as far as like post-production and just like making it look cinematic and stuff, whereas like most of the show just looked like a standard show. But that first one was like, this looks really good. Like this looks like a movie.
It is a nice pilot, yeah.
Which I think most shows do the opposite, where it's like, hey, here's like a cheaper, watered down version just so you guys get the proof of concept, and then if we get a series, then we'll up the production and stuff like that. But this, I think they were really trying to sell this and be like, hey, we have something here. We know it's not super mainstream, or it's not as big as Batman or something, but we have something really neat here. So I think they pulled out all of the stops and was just like, see, this looks good.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of about it for all the stuff that I want to mention plot wise and stuff like that. I enjoyed it.
Yes.
I will say that I enjoyed season 1 a lot more than season 2.
Interesting.
The show was canceled after season 2, which is kind of unfortunate. Yeah. But I really liked season 1. I thought it was fun. It was light. It was not something that it's not something you have to like pay super attention to understand all the stuff that's happening. But if you do sit there and like really pay attention, there is stuff in there that's really rewarding.
Yeah, there is ongoing plot stuff that is there, but I don't know if that's necessarily the point of the thing. I think the best stuff in the show is the characters and their dialogue.
Yeah.
So you're not required to pay attention to the plot. I'm sure you'll still have quite a fine time if you don't. But it's got interesting stuff to it. I like the story.
Yeah. What do you say we move on to a little bit of housekeeping?
Yes.
And then we'll get into spoilers. Cool. Housekeeping. Keep the house. Hopefully we can keep the house. In fact, we can keep the house with your help. If you like what we do, patreon.com/the Whatnauts is where you can support us for as little as $1 a month. If you did not know, we have multiple podcasts, which you guys can check out on our website, thewhatnauts.com, or by typing in The Whatnauts on your favorite podcasting platform. We have multiple shows for you to check out, like The Captain's Log, which is our weekly, just kind of off-topic show. You can come and hang out and stuff like that. And Crossplay, which is a video game podcast. In fact, we are having your brother, Jams, on the show this afternoon.
You get a 2 Wilkinson day.
Yeah, double the Wilkinsons. So that should be fun. You guys should go check all that stuff out. If you'd like to get episodes early, again, patreon.com/the Whatnauts is where you can get that, or you can get access to the live streams of this year's show, the review show. And I just noticed I put lowercase r in the review show on on screen here. Boom, ba-doom. Oh, that's still a lowercase r. There we go. Capital R. Fixed. Yeah. Big shout out to our Patreon supporters at the $5 tier. So thank you, Christine, and thank you, Sam, for helping us out. We appreciate you. I think that is it, though.
Yeah, I think that is a sufficient amount of housekeeping. As previously said, we are coming up on our episode 100.
We are, and we finally came up with an idea for that. Let's at least mention what the idea will be. Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, we're trying something new. Kyle and I are each coming to the table with what we think is the best superhero movie. Because superheroes, like in this episode and many others, it's a topic we cover a lot on this show. The first thing we covered together was the Infinity Gauntlet comic book. So that we'd honor this pattern that's been in the show and something we both love. And we're going to try a compare and contrast episode about two things that are in the same genre but are otherwise unrelated.
Exactly. We've done some compare and contrast episodes in the past, but it's usually of like, hey, here's the comic book and here's the movie adaptation or something like that. But never of two things unrelated other than a theme of just
and we're also going to be kind of debating the theme, having a good-natured argument about superheroes.
Exactly. So be on the lookout for that. We'll announce which movies we will be coming. We will be watching in the coming weeks.
Yes.
So be on the lookout for that. But now, let's get into some spoilers.
Okay.
Man, my spoiler graphic was struggling there.
Whoa.
It was doing like 10 frames a second. Not fun. Here we are.
We are here.
Spoilers.
So I would like to pick up on what you were saying about the production values of the show. Because I think my only real gripe about it, which isn't even exactly a gripe, it's like a thing that I thought was interesting, but also kind of wished was different, which is that the bulk of the show is shot with very naturalistic lighting.
Okay.
Like when they're in Arthur's apartment and he's got two table lamps, the scene looks like it is lit by the two table lamps.
Yeah.
Or if the lights are off, like it's just like the sunshine coming in through the window. Or like if they're outside and it's a cloudy day, like the lighting is kind of flat. Like it looks very realistic, which is interesting. And I kind of appreciate that in contrast to the big, larger than life superhero antics that they have going on. But there were times where I wished I could see things slightly better. Like, I think there's a scene where, like, Dot is sneaking around, like, the Pyramid Gang's headquarters, and it's very murky.
Yeah, it's kind of dark.
Yeah.
I thought the lighting was fine for the most part, but yeah, it does superheroes not in a, like, Daredevil Netflix sense or like Marvel cinematic sense where like they try to make it look as sleek as possible. The way they make the costumes in this, like you said, it feels just very natural. Like, hey, they might have like some cool like helmet, but the costume is basically just a jumpsuit. Right, and they have some things where it looks like this is something that a normal person would be able to make. It looks more like what you would see in Kick-Ass or something where he's just like,
that's a good comparison.
Bought some things on Amazon and like stitched them together and stuff. But it looks neat. Like it looks good. It just has like it has a certain. I don't know how to put this. You use the word naturalistic, but just like a sense of not going overboard on like style and production and After Effects and stuff like that.
Was something I started picking up about the show. Like, there's nothing stylistically very unique about this. It's all like the content of the show itself. We just have the tick. We just have all these other superheroes and wild powers and like weird side characters running around.
Right.
The actual like cinematography and like the editing and the framing of the show is pretty normal. And it is toned like right down the middle. Like you mentioned like Daredevil earlier, which is I'd say on the bordering line of something you may call gritty. This does not go into gritty territory, but it also doesn't go into like the super bright colored, like Thor Ragnarok oversaturated real comic book world. It is very straightforward down the middle, which again, I think does serve the story. Like it's all to contrast that the weird things that they do have.
Yeah, and it is a show that kind of depicts these two characters trying to deal with their normal lives. Just like, he wants to be a superhero, but he has an office job, and he has to like try. And like, here comes the tick being like, Arthur, I am here at your job. Notice me. And he's just like, no, Tick, what are you doing? Like, this is my job. He's like, your pretend job, because your real job is superheroing. And
Destiny is your boss.
Tick. Yeah. So like it makes for this
for the audience
contrast.
Who is not. I just want to stop and say, for the audience who's not watched the show, it is mostly the Tick yelling and Arthur being exasperated at the Tick. That's the bulk of the content, and it is very good.
Yeah. But it makes for this good contrast between their mundane everyday lives, being like, this is my normal life, this is my job. Normal people are what's the saying that they say, like, normal is as normal does at the start there, where it's like, normal people take meds, normal people go to work, like normal people make coffee in the morning and stuff like that, right? Like they mention that stuff, and then they're in this world of Brown Tingle Cola that was a company made by a villain, in which he makes the world's most popular cola, and the secret ingredient is him adding a drop of his urine into each can. Like it's ridiculous, stupid stuff, but it makes for this really awesome contrast. And so I just kind of want to mention that, so we're not being like, it's just kind of middling.
No,
like, it's not that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a mediocre show. I'm just saying that on the spectrum of
good spot.
Yes, on the spectrum of aesthetics and styles you could have, it has picked something, as we said, I think purposefully naturalistic and like toned down but not flat. Like, it is, it's like a storefront window where the background is all white so that you can focus on the clothes on the mannequin,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So we mentioned there's not much to this plot wise. It's pretty standard. Let's start diving into some of that. Because there is a plot there, and I think by the end of the first season, it has its moments that I think work really well for it. I think for me, I was really interested by the first episode, one because it looked a little bit better, and I was like, whoa, I was not expecting it to look like this. This is fantastic. But it kind of sets up this thing where he is this kid who was traumatized by this villain. His father was killed right in front of him. All his favorite superheroes were killed right in front of him, and the villain comes up to like mess with him. And some photographers there and gets a photo, and he is known as the kid from the photo.
Right, which was something I really liked, that there is, in this world where superheroes are real, they are documented. They are the object of journalism. And he is part of this famous like Time magazine shot. And nobody like has really, like, everybody knows the image, but has never thought about who that kid is that the terror is yelling at. And he's like, yeah, it's me. See how the rest of my life turned out after that photo was taken.
It's me.
Yeah.
Arthur. But he has been told, or like I guess the whole world has been told that villain down the road has died. He got killed by their like Superman knockoff. I guess there is a Superman knockoff.
I mean, he's
in
the Superman knockoff only in that he is from space. He's got, dashing good looks and brown hair, and he wears a cape.
He's kind of all powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that character Superior had a fight with the villain, the Terror, and that he ended up defeating the Terror and killing him. And all they could find was his teeth.
Mm-hmm.
But he has this, Arthur has this obsession. It's just like, I don't know. Something strange is there. Like, I just don't know if that's 100% true of what exactly happened. So he obsesses of just like, I wonder if he's still out there. And his family kind of sees that as something that they need to medicate and be like, okay, let's not be so obsessive. Let's be a little more normal. Go get a day job. Do stuff. Yeah,
not like they're trying to. They are trying to help him. His family really has his best interests at heart. They're not like, Arthur, stop messing around. You're embarrassing us. Like, his mom and his sister and his stepdad are all very sweet.
Yeah, but they're all looking out for him. But in the back of his mind, he's still just like, this is what I like. I know I'm on the right path. And so he has this like heart behind his character that's just like, I know it. There's something out there, right? But he's also very unsure of himself too. Like he doesn't think he is the hero. He just thinks he's gonna be the one to break the story.
Yeah.
Or like be the source that's like, hey, see, I can prove it.
Like he is doing what is on paper a heroic thing to investigate and expose that a supervillain is still alive, but he never thinks of himself as the hero. He's like, no, I just need to do this. Like, this is an Arthur mission. This is not a heroic mission.
Yeah, which is then where the Tick comes in, and he's like, no, you are the hero. Destiny has foretold this because we have met here right now.
Yes.
What else would that mean?
Their relationship is the best thing in the show. And the Tick is this bombastic, bigger than life character who is like absolute faith in destiny and being good and being a hero, but like no ego at all whatsoever. It's just his personal calling. He believes it's Arthur's calling as well. He's there to like encourage other people and be a good influence, but he has no idea where he came from. He spends a couple episodes thinking he's a robot because he meets another robot and he's like,
the robot is blue. I'm wearing blue.
We have similar jaws. We have similar brows. I think maybe I'm a robot. And he starts acting like he's a robot. And Arthur's like, Tick, no, you're not. You are not a robot. Cut it out.
But it's not only that he sees the robot, but there is this like, it was an Armenian guy who runs this shop there who was like, well, supposedly the 9000 models are like a lot more sophisticated. And he's like, maybe I'm a 9000 model.
The robot he encounters is stated to be like, this is an ancient hunk of junk. He can't be replaced until he absolutely breaks down. Yeah, and then somebody makes the mention that the modern models are like super advanced, and then Tick is like, how do I know? I'm not a robot.
Yeah, and he just has the utmost faith.
Yes.
Like I think that is the way you can describe him best. He sees something good and he just wholeheartedly is behind it. He always sees the good in people. If they mess up, he's not angry at them per se. He'll scold them, but he's still like treating them as if they are good people and stuff, and just they are inherently good. And so at times it can come off as like naive or stupid or just like, but come on, Tick, what are you doing? Like, but it's just so wild to see because even characters like Superman aren't like that.
Yeah, Superman has a sense of, like, he can get angry, or like he has a sense of sarcasm, even if he doesn't implement it. Like, he understands things like this, and he's lived a normal Clark Kent life where he knows things like how to drive a car and go to school and pay his taxes. And the Tick, like, showed up. The Tick is essentially 4 days old.
Yeah. Which is kind of one of the plot threads that they dropped. Like, they started to be like, I will help you figure out who you are. And then they just never mentioned that again.
Maybe that was for season 3. Maybe they were going to lay
yeah.
low for a little bit and pick it back up. And this haunting specter of a season 3 that never was.
I kind of think that's for the better, though, that they don't mention that. Because I like it. I like the Tick as this like unnatural force.
Yes.
That is just there, like oddly inspiring people. And
yes.
Just like, you shouldn't exist, or like you shouldn't be here. This is not how life works. However, you're turning me into a better person. Thanks.
Right.
I guess. Like,
you know what this story is? It kind of reminded me of was The Disaster Artist.
I haven't seen that one.
But do you know the story of it? That
No.
It's about Tommy Wiseau and the making of The Room, told from Greg Sestero's point of view. Like, you know The Room, legendarily, like, one of the worst movies ever made by this, like, mysterious guy who, like, has an accent, but you don't know where he's from. You don't know how old he is. You don't know where he got any of the money to fund this movie. But he's very earnest about trying to make the movie and, like, putting his friends in it. And, like, he took the film absolutely seriously and was really heartbroken when people laughed at it, but then figured out how to embrace it. And he's like, yes, I always meant it as a comedy. Let's all laugh together. Yeah. And that The Disaster Artist is a movie based on his co-star's memoirs of that experience. And the whole movie is like, I'm with you, Tommy, but who are you? Where are you from? And there's no answers. Nobody knows.
There's certain characters like that where, like, you just have to not necessarily for like a sense of mystery, but just like I think they are best served as these like forces of nature.
Exactly.
Right? Where it's like you don't need to explain it. You can't explain it. They just let them be this weird thing that shouldn't exist.
Yeah, I looked at the Tick as exactly what he said. He is a force of destiny. I thought of him like an angel. You know, there are stories where, like, an angel comes down to earth with, like, absolute faith and clarity and purpose, but they don't operate on the level that a normal human operates on. Like, their emotions are different, their vocabulary is different, the way they express themselves and take in information and communicate is all different, but it's all good. It's just weird and disconnected.
Yeah. One of the things I liked that they did with the Tick is in like episodes like 1 through like 3, maybe 4, is they kind of hinted at what if the Tick isn't real?
Yes.
And what if he's just like a figment of Arthur's imagination? Because he is someone who's on these meds, off of his meds.
Yeah.
Maybe he hallucinates. We don't know. And it like I kind of liked that. And I almost would have liked to see that carried on more in season 1.
What I really liked about that is that it was less of the narrative trying to make us think that the Tick is an imaginary friend. It's the narrative exploring Arthur thinking this about himself. Like, he's encountered this mysterious new man and he's like, did I hallucinate him? And you're right, it does take like 3 episodes before Dot is also there and she's like, no, Arthur, I can see your friend. I've talked to your friend. Yeah. I like how we get so many different short variations and theories on what is the Tick. Is the Tick a hallucination? No. Is the Tick a robot? No. Like, it's slowly cycling through everything a little bit at a time. Yeah.
Yeah. yeah, so I said let's get into the story, and we kind of started diving into the characters.
Yeah.
That's kind of where the story revolves
Yeah.
around.
I would say that the character stuff was always more interesting to me than like the plot things. Like any twist the plot could throw at me, I appreciated, I thought was interesting. Yep. It all connected, it all makes sense. I wasn't confused at any point, but it was never as exciting and fun to me as when Danger Boat says he has a crush on Arthur. Like the character stuff is the best stuff.
Yeah. But so like the Tick and Arthur now have this new super suit, which is designed to look like a moth. It's this like gray suit. And as they're kind of figuring out what this suit is, where it came from, there are certain villains after them. They basically uncover that this suit was created by the Armenian government.
It wasn't Armenian. It's like some fictional Eastern European country with a made-up name. It's like Urzmanistan or something like that.
Something like that. But they were making it as a kind of weapon / deterrent to Superior, which is the like Superman knockoff character that we mentioned. And this was like the suit they were going to use to get close to him, to like destroy him, or just like keep him out of their country, of just like, hey, we have a superhero of our own too, you know, don't mess with us. But of course, the Terror, who is the super villain that everyone thinks is dead, is secretly still out there, and he's planning on kind of using all of these chess pieces to his own his own plan, in which he's hoping to kill Superior, and they're kind of uncovering that as they go and meeting all these weird and crazy characters like Miss Lint, who I having watched season 2 first, they don't explain her name, and so I just thought that was her name. Like, I didn't know that was supposed to be a
Hi,
joke.
my name is Janet Lint. This is what it says on my driver's license.
Yeah, I like, sure. I mean, my last name is Springer. I like. There's no reason behind that.
That's a more super villain name than Lint is. You got a point,
right? Like,
you should have jumping powers.
So when they like, they started explaining it. I was like, wait, is that supposed to be a joke? This is so weird. But yeah, she has these like electrical powers and like static, and so like stuff like clings to her, and just like all this lint starts like.
I really dug that coin flip of that she has these amazing like Emperor Palpatine like shoot lightning out of her hands powers. Like she's got these crazy electrical powers.
It comes with a static charge.
Yeah, and like everything sticks to her. And the Terror was her mentor, and he gave her these like charge conducting bracelets that neutralize the static field around her and control it and channel it. But one of them breaks and he's dead, so she can't get a replacement, or at least, you know, she thinks he's dead. So she does spend a couple episodes just having this terrible day where her hair is a mess. She is covered in lint and dry hair, and like her black clothes look like a mess. Like she's just in awful shape and so crabby about it, and there's nothing she can do.
Yeah, it's good stuff. We also meet a character named Overkill, who is kind of like Deathstroke from DC Comics. He's just like the super serious murder everyone type of character. And then throughout the season, they kind of soften his edge there. If you can hear the dogs barking, they are saying hi.
Hi, dogs.
But
there's also a talking dog in the Tick. I want to take the opportunity to say this also.
There is.
And this talking dog used to be a member of the big superhero group. Like he was like the only one that survived. Yep, the Flag Five. He was the only one that survived after this fight with the Terror. And he's gone on to be like, he's written his memoirs, and it's this big running thing throughout the story that everybody's excited for, like, oh, did you hear that his memoirs are coming out, where he's going to be on Good Morning America, and he's giving a reading and a book signing. And the Tick reads the book and is very affected by this book, sincerely. And the dog shows up again at the end to like deliver some piece of plot relevant information. And the Tick says, hey, look, it's my favorite author.
Yeah, because it's the only book he's read.
Yes, the only one.
Yeah. He's just so sincere, though. Like, so funny.
And it's not just him. I know we were trying to talk about the plot, but Arthur's stepdad, Walter, is also kind of on the Tick's wavelength. Like, the Tick barges his way benevolently into Arthur's family's, like, birthday party for his stepdad. And, like, the two hit it off. And Walter's like, have you heard about this book? A dog wrote it.
Yeah.
And he's also got the same, like, very sincere, very earnest, very interested in everything that's going on, like no touch of cynicism about him.
Yeah. It's great stuff. I like that actor too. I don't remember his name.
Francois Chow.
We know him from Lost.
He also showed up in something we were watching just a couple weeks ago. He's in Birds of Prey. Yeah. So twice already this year I've gotten to say, oh boy, I didn't know Francois Chow was in this.
It's that guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, they're kind of uncovering this plot, but throughout the whole thing, Arthur is kind of learning to take his own life into his hands instead of just like doing what he's told or doing what his family is telling him. He's breaking out of this idea of like normal is as normal does. That's like normal isn't really normal.
No.
Like, all sorts of people do all sorts of different things, and I can run around in a moth suit and be completely normal.
Yeah, I can be living my best life as a moth.
There's this great moment kind of at the end of the series where it kind of mirrors his father's death.
Yeah.
The terror ship is crashing down into the park, and it's about to hit this one guy, similar to how it killed his father, and he has the chance to like knock him out of the way and save him, and he does, and then at the end of it all, he gets to kind of look around, and he sees the person that he saved, and he gets to see them like reunite with their family and all of this stuff, and it's this great moment of him being like, I guess I am a hero. Like, I did something heroic.
In that final episode, when it is the Tick jumping and Arthur's finally like mastered the wings on his moth suit and they're flying around and they're going to like take down the VLM, it is a great feeling to watch them.
We haven't even mentioned the VLM yet, the very large man.
It's just a very big man, a man who got too big. That is.
It looks like the Titans from Attack on Titan.
But it's just a guy. It's just monsters. A guy who's 20 stories tall. That is the threat of this series, is big man walking towards town.
Who is very confused.
Right, he has no idea what's going on. He's just walking. He's like, I don't know. I just woke up. Like, I have a landscaping business. I have a wife and daughter.
And now I'm completely naked, and they're filming me on TV. And
but
everyone has seen like, my junk, giant size on TV.
But when they're going to take down the VLM, like, and then of course it's them like flying and jumping around, so it switches to like these CGI characters, and then once it's able to switch to CGI characters, the camera can get a little bit more dynamic, and it is these beautiful sweeping shots of them like flying through the air like towards this threat, and like the superhero antics are like clicked in. This is
Yeah.
real classic superhero stuff. And it is a great feeling, like as an audience member, like you're real proud of them. Like, oh, look
like,
what
"Aw,
they did. They're finally
They
there.
go save the day.
Yeah, it's heartwarming.
Yeah. The Terror's plan is basically that there is their version of kryptonite, which he has injected the very large man with when he was smaller, and then
when he was a regular size.
Yeah, when he was regular size.
Because there is a small man in this story elsewhere.
Right.
There's people at every size.
But he blew him up in the sense that he enlarged him in hopes to enlarge this kryptonite substance that they call big bismuth.
Yes.
And the idea is if they then detonate the very large man, the explosion will be this cloud of big bismuth, and that will kill Superior.
Yes.
Which is fairly standard superhero stuff. Like how can we envelop the Earth in a kryptonite dust to kill Superman?
I liked this twist on it, though. I like that the point of the VLM wasn't to okay, he's huge, he will wreck the landscape, he will destroy the city, or it's a big weird thing. We're distracting the armed forces. So, yeah, we're distracting the armed forces so they don't see what we're doing over here. No, it's that, we've put a weapon in his blood, and if they shoot him down or blow him up, then that's a giant splash of blood that we can use as a weapon. I like that he's just the carrier for that. That was a really interesting twist. And of course, there aren't many stories where you do see a giant weaponized man. So it's not like this is absolutely standard, but still, I like that additional level to it of, oh no, he's just carrying all the poison inside of his blood, which won't hurt him, but is going to hurt the superhero who's going to be in his immediate vicinity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all of that stuff is fairly standard, though, right? And we've gotten these bits and pieces of lore, right? We've seen Miss Lint being the mentee to the Terror. We've seen here's one that I did not see coming. Was that the character from the Flag 5 that got his eyes burned out and his hands destroyed turns out to be Overkill.
Yeah.
And he's just taken on this new name, new persona and stuff like that. Now he wants revenge.
Yes.
But I didn't necessarily see that coming until they were making it obvious, and I was like, oh, that's what's his name that got his hands crushed, and then they were like, that's what's his name that got his hands crushed. I was like, haha, that's right. But they mention stuff like that. They mention this organization called Aegis.
Yes.
Which is AEGIS, which is an acronym for something, but I don't think they actually say what the acronym is for, and I don't think they mention it in season 2. It's just, we are Aegis.
It might just be a word in the superhero RPG I play, Masks. That's also the name of the superhero organizing committee. So I don't know if that was made as a nod to the Tick lore,
maybe,
or if that's a common reference to something. This is an old Greek word that means hero or something like that.
Yeah, so it's a noun that means the protection, backing, or support of a particular person or organization.
Okay.
So it's just, here's your support.
Yeah. Okay. General reference point then. Good to know.
There you go. But yeah, they're kind of like Shield is to Marvel. they're just this organization that kind of categorizes and documents superheroes and helps them out or detains them, or they're just kind of this all around surveillance, making sure things also go smoothly.
It seems like there's kind of a bureaucracy element to it, like kind of like the way superheroes are organized in The Incredibles, where like there's a lot of paperwork and liability that you have to fill out.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. So I like that all of that stuff is on the fringe.
Yes.
That it's out there, which is why I said at the start, like it's a light show. Like, this is not a complicated show. It's not very emotionally demanding. It's not very like tense or stuff like that. But it's one that's fairly light and easily consumable. But if you do sit there and pay attention, there's some neat things that are out there that you can look into. So good stuff. We haven't talked much about the sister yet.
Dot, I like her? Dot, and we were talking about how there's the plotline of Arthur trying to like take control of his life and like believe that he can do things. And he has this older sister who's been watching out for him, and he has to like prove to her like, no, I can go do these things. And then there's this parallel, like there's a shift at some point where he gets deep enough into heroism that then he's like, okay, Dot, don't follow me. Like, don't be a part of this. This is too dangerous for you. Yeah. So it's like both of them are trying to prove to the other one, like, stop protecting me. I know what I'm doing.
I'm competent. Leave me alone.
I can do this.
Exactly. I liked her character a lot because she at the start does seem kind of like the big sister, just like, let me take care of you and make sure you're okay. And we see that she is like a paramedic or an EMT, and so she often has to deal with the like gangsters and thugs and henchmen that come into hospitals or like underground hospitals.
I like how they arrive at this. She's in her off time. She's on a roller derby team, and she's like, I don't know if maybe she's the captain of the roller derby team. I don't know, but she's like the person who handles like all the logistic administrative stuff. So she's going to talk to the guy who owns the rink where they practice to say like, hey, I'm sorry. Like we're still getting all the money in from everybody. Like rent, like our dues are going to be a week late. Is that okay? And when she's going to talk to him, then she finds that like in his back offices at this rink in this gym, this is where all of the supervillain gang members like come to get patched up if they get hurt out on the streets. And she's like, this is bad, but also these people are hurt and I feel like I have to help. Like, this is my nature. This is my mission. She's studying to be a doctor, do no harm. So that's how she jumps into it. And I like that she's got this parallel to Arthur. She's got this completely unrelated, like, I also got wrapped up in supervillain stuff, and I'm trying to figure out, like, how I can survive and thrive in this world.
Yeah.
How I can make my own way.
She ends up getting mixed up with Overkill. And they end up going on these, like, covert missions to infiltrate stuff. And so when Arthur and Dot are both being like, hey, I know what I'm doing, leave me alone, she also finally has her moment of like, I infiltrate. It turns out that's what I do. Like, so they have some good back and forth. I think is very believable. Of just like they seem like brother and sister.
And I like that they don't overtly spell this out, but you can infer that the same, terrible accident that took their dad and made Arthur very anxious and paranoid inspired her to get into helping people. And like, it doesn't tell you that, but you can draw the line from dad killed in supervillain accident to I want to be a paramedic.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of the parents, though, one of the things that I wished they would have addressed more is the relationship with Arthur and his stepdad. 'Cause
Really?
his stepdad, like you said, is just, sometimes he can come off as a little oblivious. Sometimes he's just very earnest and sincere and just like genuinely wants to be there. Right?
Yes.
And it's this like, something's up with you. But he often reminds him, like, you're not my dad. And that's like, sure, he might be right, but like, that's this thing of like, for 15, or I guess not 15 years, because we don't know when he came in the picture, but for some time now, like, you've been reminding this guy, you're not my dad. Don't, like, he had this like one or two lines that made me think that they don't see eye to eye. The one that stood out to me was at the book signing when we first see the talking dog. I don't remember what his name was. It was Onward originally, and then
and then he changed it. What is his pen name?
I don't remember his pen name, but the whole idea was that he was the like partner to Christian Soldier, so it was supposed to be Onward Christian Soldier.
Right. And this is the story of his book, is that he did have a lot of religious faith, and then this terrible accident happened and he didn't have it anymore, which is just the flip from every other
God.
Inspirational
There's
memoir.
only dog.
There is only dog and I am he.
Yeah. But in that scene, he Arthur ends up storming off, and the last thing he says is to his stepfather, where he says is, you're not my dad, and then he storms off. And after that, there's no like reconciling that, but it does, like, that scene does then focus on the father after that, where it shows his face, and he almost doesn't really react to that. He does, but in this like blank way, which I thought was interesting. I was just like, why are they not addressing this or talking? Like, is this going to be something that, like, by the end of the season, he's like, I forget when it was, but he calls him at one point. And his stepdad says something along the lines of like, I believe in you, Arthur. Or he says, I believe in you, son. And then I thought he was going to say like, thanks, dad, or something like that. But he didn't. And they just moved on. I was like, okay.
It worked on me. I think there was less to do with this storyline because it is something that has already been in motion for so long. Again, like you said, we don't know how long it has been since the mom married Walter. But like, you can tell, this is the relationship dynamic Walter and Arthur have had the entire time, where Arthur's like, I respect you. I think you're an all right guy, but like, we don't really have a connection. Okay. Like, don't feel like you have to come over here and like really talk to me that much. I don't need to be coddled. It's fine. And Walter's kind of like the Tick in that he really likes Arthur. He really wants to talk to him and make sure he's okay and kind of encourage him. And like, he just doesn't let up on it in like this gentle, benevolent, encouraging way. Like, he's always going to be there to make small talk with Arthur, which again is something that exasperates Arthur, that he's like, okay, you have to tell me 3 different anecdotes before we're able to get to the actual information that I need. Right. Like, it was just something that had already been going on for so long. And he was just never going to stop. And I think that is where season 1 wraps up, is that Arthur giving into that. Like, he's still not like, you are my dad, but he's like, I am done fighting you. I am done resisting you. You are a part of my life. I do care about you, even if it's not the father-son dynamic.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I thought was that this entire show to me is really more about Arthur than it is the Tick, and the Tick is just like the driving force behind it.
Right, the Tick is this immutable entity. He's trying to figure out where he's from, but it doesn't amount to like much of an arc. Like Tick at episode 1 and Tick at episode 12 aren't really different.
Right. So the themes and stuff kind of revolve around Arthur, where he starts out as this like very timid, just like no one bother me, let me be in my own comfort zone and do my own thing, to at the end of the show when he's like, hey, I feel like I'm kind of coming into my own. Like, I think I just did something heroic. That felt really good. Like that felt right. And to me, like his relationship with his father should be part of that. Of like, hey, I'm moving on from what happened when I was younger. Like I'm figuring out what happened to me and how that affected me and how that's affected all of my relationships. Like now that I've kind of come into my own as this hero, maybe now I can have a better relationship with my stepdad. Or
he does,
something
though.
Like that.
I think he does. At the end of the season 1, he does have a better relationship with his stepdad. It's just he's still not his dad, and that's okay that he's never going to be that. And I think like both of them reach a point where they realize that. Like Arthur's like, I am okay with you looking at me like I'm your son. I accept that. Yeah. And I'm going to look at you more like a friend.
You're not wrong. Like I think that's where it ends up. I just wish it was more overt and they dealt with that.
Yeah.
More. I felt like that would have been a good piece to put more of in. It was just like, okay, I see it, it's there, but it's ultimately like a non-issue thing.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that I wish they had improved on.
Let's
what about
talk
you?
more
Is there? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say we haven't talked very much about the Terror. We've talked about him in a plot capacity, but he's another really interesting character. Like I told
Let's talk about the Terror.
I share an Amazon account with my older brother, and I was saying like, oh, we're going to start watching The Tick this week. It looks like you got partially into this because there aren't like multiple profiles on Amazon Prime. It's all together. Like we can see what each other is watching. He's like, yeah, I started it. I did really like it. I just never got around to finishing it. And he's like, this is a good show with one excellent out-of-the-park performance by Jackie Earle Haley as the villain. Like, nobody needed Jackie Earle Haley to try that hard, but he is killing it as the supervillain. And I watched it, and I'm like, heck, you're right. Like, I love all the performances in the show.
The scenery.
Yeah, I think that might be the show's strongest quality is like the caliber of the performances it has. But yeah, he's bringing a lot to the table down to like every affectation and mannerism and line read. Like he's got this really interesting like raspy voice, like maybe he had been, choked or something in his supervillain past, but they never get into it or explain it. He just sounds like this.
Yeah. And then like on top of that, his face is disfigured. It looks like it's burnt. His eyes are these like glowing yellow. He is the one I think has the most makeup in the entire show. Just like his whole they went all out. Like he's not just in like a mask or a domino mask or something. Like his whole character is just decked out in this like really extravagant robes and like chainmail helmet that almost look like Magneto's helmet. Like he's just this over the top character like the rest of them, but in a way that is over the top also compared to everyone else in the show.
Like he is committed to being a supervillain. Like
Yeah.
the trappings of being scary is important to this guy.
Well,
And
it's scary, but in a like he's not actually trying to necessarily be scary because he's having fun. To him,
yes.
this whole thing
Oh
is
yeah,
fun.
this
I'm
is an
just having
absolute
fun,
riot. Yeah.
but I just like screwing with people and I like just fucking them over and stuff like that. And you know what?
Mhm.
I'm gonna add a drop of urine into every bottle of Brown Tingle Cola just because that's fucking evil.
And I like that. So there's been like 12 to 15 years, I forget exactly how long, that he has been believed to be dead. And when he comes back to life, like he's sort of catching up Miss Lint, and he's like, all the things I ever wanted to do, I did while I was pretending to be dead. I always wanted to learn how to play the drums. I learned how to play the drums. And then we see him like when he's really stressed or when he's trying to work out a problem, he's playing this giant drum set.
Yeah.
Which really adds something. I'm glad that that's his specific hobby that he got into, just because it's funny, and also like that pumps up the soundtrack in this cool extra way to have this like real actiony, energetic drum music. Like it feels like Birdman for a couple brief moments.
Yeah, they have this one scene that's almost like Whiplash. If you've seen that movie, where he's drumming and then there's someone there who's like yelling at him like, faster, pick up the pace, you're dragging.
Yeah.
and then like you can just see him and he gets all like tense and flustered, and then the like coach person is like, was that enough? He's like, you're not doing it good enough, yell at me more. Like yeah,
like he's hired this drum teacher who is
he hasn't
scared
even
of him.
Hired him. He's like kidnapped him. Afterwards, he's like, send him back to his cell. Like,
so he's like, I want you to like treat me, like really teach me, and the guy is terrified to be the one of the higher power in this relationship.
I mean,
the terror is screaming at him. Yes,
because he's sitting there like, pick up the pace, you dirty old fossil, blah blah blah. Yeah. So he's trying.
Yeah, it's a real delight whenever the terror is on screen. And I like his relationship with Miss Lint. I like that weird, like he's her mentor, he's like her dad. Like you can see that he is the most important relationship in her life. And it's inspiring and it's comforting and it's dark and it's messy. Like their relationship just had a lot of different layers going on in it that I liked. Like I imagine this is what it is like to be the second in command to this crazy overbearing supervillain, and like how much that transforms you in good and bad ways.
Yep. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I think earlier I was gonna ask, is there stuff that you did not like about this show? Or was there stuff that you were like, I wish they had done this a little bit better or differently?
No, I think the thing that did bother me the most, as I said, was that sometimes the lighting is so naturalistic that it can be difficult to see things.
Sure.
Or that the lighting looks too sad some of the time. Like when they're in Arthur's apartment and like, you know, it's all trashed and he doesn't have any lamps on and there's just like the light coming in from outside and it's kind of washed the room in this like kind of sickly color. Like it's not sufficient to like light up the room, and it's natural sunlight, but it doesn't feel warm. It feels cold. Like I'm very sensitive to lighting, and like sometimes when they are lighting it so true to what is actually in the scene, I'm like, I wish this was brighter and warmer.
Yeah, they were kind of figuring a couple things out as they went. I noticed, because the suit that the Tick is in the pilot is very thin Like you can see it's very thin, but it's textured, and there's this like weird texture on it. And then episode 2 and beyond, he's in a completely different costume that is
I didn't even
more
notice.
like what you would see in like a typical like hero show. There's a lot less texture, stuff like that. But also when he first appears in episode 2, he's lit very strangely. Like it looks like someone went into the frames that he was in and specifically like brightened up him.
Ooh.
And so it just looked like there was this weird lighting that they didn't know how to deal with, and I don't know if it is because they were working with natural light or if they were in some studio and it is this like faux natural light that they're trying to achieve, and then it didn't get the effect that they wanted, and then they're like, this needs to be brighter, but we can't reshoot. Let's just do this weird. I don't know. It just seemed like they were figuring a couple things out, but they got their footing very fast, and then they stuck with that for the rest of the show.
I'd be intrigued to see some behind the scenes footage of like how they designed this world and like how cartoony they made it or how true to life they made it, because it isn't totally out there. Like you've got weird products like Brown Tangle Cola, but it is a couple cartoony things among the world, but for the most part it feels very down to earth, very normal. And I'd be interested to hear them explore like this is how we adjusted the slider for various things.
Yep. When is streaming services going to start including directors' commentaries and stuff as like another episode? I
would pay for commentaries.
They need to start doing that stuff.
Maybe this is because we just have podcasts now. They're like, well, if you guys really want to record something, we'll release it in a podcast feed.
Yeah, something. Who knows?
They can sync it up themselves. As we get closer to wrapping up, I do want to talk for a little bit more about my favorite character, Danger Boat.
There we go. Danger Boat. Danger Boat.
So Overkill lives in this, it's like Kit, the car from Knight Rider. It's like he has this cool AI boat, but it's a boat that he lives in. And the boat's AI is sentient and has its own personality. And I think when Tick and Arthur first go to Danger Boat, when they're first inside the boat, they're like, oh, this is your boat? And Danger Boat says, I'm not his boat. We just live together.
Yeah.
It is like they are just roommates and coworkers. That's the dynamic there. And Danger Boat is like kind of overkill in all of his drama. Yeah. And I love that Danger Boat said, like, he's talking to the Tick and he's like, I have sentience. I have this feeling of self-awareness. I know that I am male, and I know that I like other males. And Tick's like, other male boats? And he's like, oh, no, mostly male humans, like Arthur. Like the subplot of a sentient boat falling in love with Arthur is my favorite.
They have an interesting line of dialogue in there where he breaks down the word for like homosexual.
Yes.
Which I don't know how true it is or all that stuff, but he mentions something of like it is meant to imply the same thing. Like you are attracted to the same thing, which would imply that I'm attracted to other male boats. But boats don't really gender themselves, and I'm attracted to humans, which is different. So I don't know if you can really call me homosexual, but whatever that means, I'm that.
It's really interesting. And I love that Danger Boat is saying all of this to the Tick, who is interested, who is supportive, but doesn't really get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's so into justice and destiny and doing good that he's just like, what is sexuality? I don't know what this thing is.
I have no concept of this. I'm always wearing the same clothes and I don't think I can take them off.
Just like not even knowing that he can probably take his suit off.
Can he? This is the mystery.
We don't know. Maybe he's a robot. They
Right?
haven't opened him up. They haven't cut him open. We don't actually know.
When I think back on other versions of the Tick I have seen, the Tick is always in the Tick costume. It's like the Tobias Funke never nude condition. Like, there's stuff on over the costume sometimes if he needs a disguise, but the costume's always on.
Yeah.
Is that part of his body? Is that part of his skin? Can it be taken off? Is it too harrowing a fact for us to ever know of?
Yeah. Yeah, I like Danger Boat. There's not much that they do with him though.
Because he has to stay in one place. He doesn't even get to sail. He is moored.
He stays there for the most part. There is the love interest with Arthur, who's just not reciprocating and is kind of creeped out by it.
Yeah, it's like, I don't like that I am inside you and that you are the sentient AI of the boat and you can see me everywhere I am inside of you.
Even when I'm in the shower.
Yeah.
That's weird. And so, like, yeah, I mean, they're like, it. Like, I think it's neat that they have it. I don't think they did much with it. So that's my thoughts on Danger Boat.
Oh, just a fun bonus. I'm never expecting a sentient a sentient boat to fall in love with a man, but I'm happy now that I have encountered this in my life.
Yeah. So I wanted to mention a couple thoughts on season 2.
Yes.
With spoiler free, since I watched that one first and then went back and watched season 1. So yeah, they don't do the origin story of the Tick, or they don't explore more of where he came from, and that I liked. They just don't mention it. They don't even really mention that he wants to know or all of that stuff. Like in season 1, they mentioned that he's like, oh, I don't remember anything from before 3 days ago. And they don't mention that. He just is. And I liked that. It's like, that's good. That's fun. Just don't explain this. And they explore Aegis a lot more. That's what season 2 focuses on. But yeah, I thought it wasn't very good. I thought there wasn't really any stakes.
Okay.
Especially now in comparison to season 1, which is like, here is this character. He was traumatized when he was young. Here is this plot that he's uncovering. Here's how it all ties in together. Season 2 didn't really have those stakes, which was unfortunate. But
isn't it also
still some?
Isn't season 2 also shorter than season 1?
By 2 episodes.
Oh, okay.
It's 10. Yeah, so it's not that bad. I mean, there is stuff that happens, but they don't mention the terror. Well, they do. They mention him, but he's not a character.
Okay,
like he's just not in the show. Even a character that we haven't mentioned yet, Goat, who is the like shopkeeper in their like corner store. Not mentioned. Like, he's not in the show, period. The show does tend to focus a little bit more on Dot and her how she was affected by her father's death.
That's good.
And stuff like that. And it also focuses a little bit more on Overkill. And who he is and who he becomes and stuff like that. So it's one of those things that was like, it was fine. It wasn't bad per se, but it just, they didn't do anything. I felt like
maybe they were still working on it.
Other superheroes.
Ooh.
You meet a Doctor Strange knockoff.
Oh,
that is this black guy with a third nipple. He has this nipple like right on his chest, and he's like,
wow,
by my third nipple I put on.
I like this.
So he like they have some funny stuff like that. But yeah, I think overall I can kind of see why season 2 was like, okay, that's the end of that show.
Maybe it was still working on stuff. Like the season 1 is it did feel like slightly slower paced than most other shows you would find on a streaming service, where it is kind of designed to be watched all in one go, and like really we're putting the rails out in front of the track as the train is going, like designed to like push you to like keep going to the next episode and the next episode, the next episode.
Yeah, well, there is a conspiracy that they're uncovering in
like
season
those.
2. But yeah, it's just like it really felt like season 1 they had a particular story in mind that they wanted to tell, and then it did well enough that they were like, okay, season 2, and they were like, oh shit, season 2, what do we do for season 2? I guess they can do this. And then it was just like, well, okay, not as good, but all right. So those are my thoughts on season 2.
Okay, good to know. I am still going to keep watching it. I found the show very charming.
Yeah, charming is a good word to describe this show. Charming. I'm charmed. Melissa, if you had to recommend some stuff to people who might or who liked this show, what else do you think they should check out?
First of all, one of the reasons why I was really interested in the show, not just because I've seen previous and prior versions of The Tick, and I like those, and I wanted to see the new version, is that the actor who plays Arthur, Griffin Newman, does a movie podcast that I really love.
Okay.
This show is called Blank Check with Griffin and David, and it's him and David Sims, who's a film critic for like The Atlantic, I think. Like some really respected film critic who's also a big goofball. And it's just the two of them going through directors' filmographies. This is the speech he gives at the beginning of every episode. It's about directors who had big success earlier in their careers and then were given a blank check to make whatever kind of passion projects they wanted to make. And sometimes those checks cash and sometimes they bounce, baby. He says this at the beginning of every episode. So they pick a director and they cover every film for that director and then do another one and another one. And they've covered all kinds of people. Christopher Nolan, M. Night Shyamalan, Hayao Miyazaki, Tim Burton. They're doing Jonathan Demme right now, a big variety. And what I really love about this podcast, it's another like long, chatty tangent podcast, which is my favorite genre personally. I just want to listen to like 2 or 3 guys chatter with each other for 3 hours. This is my preferred form of entertainment. But I like
it's good background noise, and sometimes it's fascinating conversations that you're just like, tell me more.
Yeah, they're really funny, and they have really interesting insights into movies. Like they really know what they're talking about, but there's no pretension or anything to it. Like they're not film snobs. They're film nerds. So they know a bunch of stuff. And at the end of every episode, they do David gives Griffin the box office game where they take the movie they've been covering that week, and Griffin has to guess what were the top 5 box office movies the week this film was released. And David gives him like a couple clues and Griffin is able to nail it. He's very good at guessing these things.
Interesting.
He's a man of many talents. Yeah, so listen to the Blank Check podcast. It's become one of my favorites. And then if you like the content of the show, if you're looking for another kind of wacky, offbeat superhero show, get yourself a DC Universe trial and go watch Doom Patrol.
Yeah. That's
Doom Patrol.
Interesting one. Yeah. Doom Patrol is just like weird.
Doom Patrol
weird
is
for weird's sake.
Very, very weird. It is... It is Grant Morrison weird, which is a level of weird separate from other kinds of levels of weird. It's got that going for it, and it is darker and more dramatic and more emotional. But altogether, yeah, I think it's a great, like, character-driven show. Really interesting character dynamics there. Also features Alan Tudyk.
Okay, yep.
So if you want quirky superhero show featuring Alan Tudyk, there's 2 of those things out there that you can go watch.
Go.
Oh, a third if you count that one that's like in the DC universe and is about
Powerless?
a company.
That was
What is
not
it?
a good show. I
What was
believe
it?
it's called Powerless.
Yes.
Not a good show.
I saw an episode of it and I had a decent time. I have trouble remembering the name of the show or most of what happened, but I've fond blurry memories of it.
It had a very interesting premise, and it could have been fantastic. I just think it wasn't good enough for them to like keep putting stuff in. It was another one of those shows that was like, what if we take like the almost sitcom, almost Office style, but it's not the Office, but it's in a superhero universe where Batman exists and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a great idea, and then it just didn't hit. But cool. I will say though, that show has a very similar type of comedy to what is in the Tick. So if you did like this, it would at least be worth checking out for that. Just like go check out the like stupid stuff that they do in that show. If I had to recommend stuff, I would actually recommend something that Melissa and I are watching right now, Venture Brothers.
Yes.
Which they have a kind of weird tangled history because the creator of the Venture Brothers also worked on some of the older Tick shows.
He did the story for one of these episodes.
Yeah.
The episode where Tick
exactly.
thinks he's a robot. He didn't write the script, but like he had a story by credit on that one.
Yeah. So it's a lot of the same type of comedy, a lot of the same just types of like weird situations that the characters are finding themselves in. I thought one thing I did not mention as we were kind of talking about this is I was wondering if this show would have been better served as a cartoon. And then I was like, if this was a cartoon, it's basically just Venture Brothers. Like that's what it is. So it's good. I would recommend that. If you want to pick up some comics, I would recommend checking out The Superior Foes of Spider-Man. Which is about these kind of like second and third rate Spider-Man villains teaming up, try to be better at their jobs, but they're just terrible at their jobs. They are trying to make the new Sinister Six, but there's only 5 of them. And so they're like, we can't be the Sinister Six if there's only 5 of us, you imbecile. You can't call us that. It's just like there's just stupid stuff that they do, and they're all just terrible at being villains. So it's a lot of fun. I would recommend that as well. There you go. Melissa.
Yes.
Are you ready for the pitches
I am.
next week?
Yes. Lay it on me.
This is the first time I'm pitching in a couple weeks, just the way things have worked out from covering this and the Venture Brothers, and we had Ignacio from Crossplay on, and he had us watch Your Name. So I haven't got to pitch something in like a month.
Yeah.
Feels like. So I wanted to return to some classic superheroics, much like what we did this week. But
it's a real superhero season for us.
But maybe a little more characters that are more well known and mainstream.
Okay.
Pitch number 1. Something we've mentioned on these shows a couple times, at least in conversation. I don't remember when. I know I've pitched this before. I don't know when.
Okay.
It's been some time since I pitched this, but pitch number 1 is Marvel's Secret Wars.
Oh.
The original 12-issue mini-series. It's a crossover event in which a bunch of the Marvel heroes and villains are transported to Battle World. And they have to duke it out for their survival and all of that stuff. And essentially, it's just a giant commercial for toys and action figures. And that's essentially what the story is, too. Just like the Beyonder being like, I have action figures. Now fight.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I want to see Colossus fight the Thing. Go at it. Welcome to my space coliseum.
Yeah. And it's not even broken up by like, okay, good guys on this side, bad guys on that side. It's just like a mix and match of all this stuff. You guys on that side, you guys over there. So I've actually not read that one. So it would be an interesting one to go back and read. Marvel's Secret Wars from 1984. And that's all on Comixology Unlimited.
Okay.
Pitch number 2. You mentioned the DC Universe app when you suggested Doom Patrol. I want to pitch Harley Quinn. There's an animated series. Just wrapped up recently, but it is an animated series following Harley Quinn, and it was created by Paul Dini and Bruce Timm of
the originals,
Batman the Animated Series fame. Let's see, blah, 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 blah. Premise. The series follows Harley Quinn's adventures after she breaks up with Joker and receiving help from Poison Ivy, Clayface, Dr. Psycho, King Shark, and Cyborg Man in her plans to become a member of the Legion of Doom.
Is it Cyborg Man, or is it like first name Cy, last name Borgman?
First name Cy, last name Borgman.
Good.
And it's Cy is spelled S-Y.
Yes.
Cyborg Man. I've never heard of that character, so I don't know if it's like from the comics or if that's from just this one show. But you also mentioned Alan Tudyk, and he is in this show as well. He plays one of the voices. I don't know which one off the top of my head, but I know he's in there. Let's see if I can find him. Alan Tudyk as the Joker.
Oh,
Basil
he'd be
Karlo
a good
/
Joker.
Clayface, as well as Julian Day / Calendar Man. There you go.
Calendar Man.
So that's pitch number 2, this animated Harley Quinn TV show that I have heard nothing but good things about. And that's on DC Universe.
Okay.
Pitch number 3 is also available on Comixology Unlimited. This is X-Men Season 1.
Ooh.
This is a graphic novel by Dennis Hopeless and art by Jamie McKelvey. And this is kind of a retelling of the first year of the X-Men, of like X-Men's first class. It kind of retells those original comics, but also gives new perspective and like modernizes them. And I know from listening to a bunch of Jay and Miles Explain X-Men, this is one that they always recommended as like, hey, if you've never read X-Men, or if you want something that is more modern and easy to follow and get into, this is one that they recommended multiple times on that show. And believe it or not, I don't think we've done anything X-Men on the podcast in its history.
You're right. I don't think we have.
5 years. So.
I mean, I'm sure that there were some X-Men somewhere when we read Infinity Gauntlet.
We've read like the characters and stuff.
Yes.
But we haven't read like, this is an X-Men book.
Right.
So, pitch number 1, Marvel's Secret Wars. Pitch number 2, the Harley Quinn animated series. And pitch number 3, X-Men Season 1, the graphic novel.
I think I am going to go with X-Men Season 1. We
Okay.
just watched Birds of Prey, as previously mentioned, not too long ago. So I think I'm good on Harley
Sure.
Quinn for a little
Makes
bit.
sense.
She's a very strong flavor. Like, you can't have too much of it. It'll kind of overpower your system. And Secret Wars, I also remember Jay and Miles recapping this. And I know it's very important, but it doesn't sound like it's pivotal to read. And I feel like after hearing them explain it to me, I am
It's
good. I don't know if I
Pivotal
really
for like
need
Marvel history in the sense
Yeah.
that it's like an
Yes.
important milestone. But yeah, like I said, it's
Yeah.
just action figures.
Yeah, I don't think it's
being
regarded
smashed
as like
together.
an excellent story. It's just important.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's
Cool.
go with X-Men Season 1.
X-Men Season 1. Again, this is available on Comixology Unlimited. You can read it for free if you are a subscriber to that. If not, it is just $9.99 on Comixology. You can pick it up there, or maybe you can find it in your local comic book store or at a library or something. I don't know.
Oh, a library. I've heard of those.
Yeah. Cool. I'm excited to dive into the X-Men because that's
Yeah.
I've read certain things.
Mm-hmm.
X-Men. I've read like 90% of the Ultimate Universe comics, in which there's a lot of like Ultimate X-Men stuff, and I've read that stuff. But I for the most part have stayed away from X-Men stuff in my like personal comic reading because even within the Marvel universe, they have such a giant corner of the Marvel universe, and it's such a complicated history and all of that stuff. So I've been like, one of these days, I'll just read nothing but X-Men for like 3 years and catch up on as much stuff as I can.
I'm on a sabbatical.
Yeah, I've been like, for now, you guys can stay over there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, X-Men Season 1 is what we will do next week. Melissa, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. Oh, and I mentioned earlier, I am in a superhero tabletop RPG podcast. The podcast feed is called The Lost Library. It is a hub for 2 different campaigns and various one-shots. I am in both the campaigns and many of the one-shots. But the superhero RPG is called, the game is called Masks, and our campaign is named Fifth Watch. So you can go and listen to me play a surly technopath in a crisp suit because he's a spoiled rich boy.
There you go. Sounds good. You guys can find me at Kyle Springer on Twitter and Instagram. If you guys want to stay up to date with our shows, we are at The Whatnauts on Twitter. I mentioned our Patreon, patreon.com/The Whatnauts. I've mentioned our website, thewhatnauts.com. Go like, share, subscribe. I think we've hit 61 subscribers on YouTube. So let's keep that ball rolling. Let's get some more subscribers on that.
We have nice videos.
Tell a foe. Well, usually we have nice videos. Sometimes our cameras and stuff and my computer.
We try. I made a point to wear blue today for the Tick episode. For these Venture Brothers episodes we're doing, I have a different t-shirt, a different Venture Brothers t-shirt for everyone, because that's how much I'm into the show. I am 3 t-shirts deep into the show.
So go check out all of that stuff and subscribe. That would help us out a ton. But until next time, this has been episode 97 of the Whatnauts review show. We will see you next week for some X-Men.
Yeah.
Cool. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Here is all kind of messed up today. What's going on, party people? Thank you for checking out our podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. If you guys watched The Tick and you liked it or you did not like it, leave a comment down below in what you guys thought. In the meantime, go subscribe to our channel, which is right up there in that corner, and go watch one of our other videos, which are right down there in that corner. That would help us out a ton. And don't forget to subscribe. That one. That would help us out a bunch. Do it.